Hi, Miss.
So, how are you?
I'm okay.
So, you've done alkanes on your own. We're still going to do a bit of introduction for that. And then
Okay.
we'll go on with alkanes. Okay?
Okay.
So, basically, there are compounds where your carbon-carbon bonds are saturated. What do I mean by saturated? Carbon itself can make four bonds, right?
Yeah.
Carbon's oxidation state is a 4 plus. So, carbon can make four bonds. So, when your carbon makes one bond each, and each carbon has a certain number of hydrogens. Like these are the maximum number of hydrogens it can have, right?
Yeah.
So this means that this is a saturated hydrocarbon, and saturated hydrocarbons are called alkanes, right? So
Yeah.
alkanes have a C single bond. When you talk about alkenes, they have a CC double bond. And there's another type called alkynes, which have a
Triple.
CC triple bond, right? So if I were to make this, it's an alkane or an alkene?
It's an alkane
Alkane, right? Why did you say that?
because it has single bonds.
Right. And also, the formula for an alkane is CnH2n plus 2. Okay. So
Yeah.
the CnH2n plus 2. Okay. So we have two carbons here. So our N is going to be 2 into 2 plus 2. So this gives you C2H6, right? How many hydrogens do we
Yeah.
have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. Now alkane में तो C2H6 because it's CnH2n plus 2. Now when we talk about alkenes, I have a double bond between my carbons. Now, if this carbon has already made two bonds, how much more vacancies does it have?
Uh, it has two more.
Two, right? So if
Yeah.
I have a hydrogen here and one here, so this is an alkene. And alkene का functional group का formula क्या होता है?
H
CnH2n,
two N.
right?
Yeah.
So N in this case is again 2, and your H is 4, right? So this gives you
Four.
C2H4.
Four. Mhm.
Now, alkynes are not really in the syllabus, but I just told you about it because like you should know कि इसके अंदर three triple bonds होते हैं, ठीक है?
Oh.
Now, let's talk about a few functional groups. So if you think I'm going really quick, just let me know. I just want to get done with this topic because your exams are near. अगर कुछ भी समझ नहीं आया, just stop me there and I'll explain it again. ठीक है?
Mhm.
So the first functional group will be an alkyl. This is your R radical as well. ठीक है? इसका name is alkyl. And an example for an alkyl is any group that is attached, ठीक है, with one less oxygen. So for example, if you have a CH3, CH2, CH3, so this added attached group here, this is an attached group,
Yeah.
and this one as well.
Yeah.
इसका in reality formula क्या होना चाहिए?
Wait. What? What do you mean?
look, C should make 4 bonds, right?
Yeah.
But it has 3 hydrogens, right?
Yeah.
So as like if I ask you कि CH4 होना चाहिए था, right?
Yeah.
C makes 4 bonds, right? This is methane. This is a compound that exists, right?
Yes.
Now I am saying कि I have a CH3, right? And why is this a CH3? Because this bond is still vacant. It's not attached anywhere, right? Unless like I attached it here like this. Now this means that C has made 3 bonds with hydrogen and 1 bond with this carbon here. So it has 4 bonds now. But when I say that I have a CH3, this means that there is 1 less bond here, right?
Yes.
Now when I have 1 less bond here, this gives me an alkyl group. Now if I have this, or okay, if I were to make a butyl group, this will be my butyl group. Why? Because my hydrogen, my carbon is deficient of 1 less hydrogen, right? So
Yes.
basically, when I say I have a CH3 or I have a C2H5, what is a C2H5? C2H5 is CH2, CH3, right?
Yes.
Or if I have uh, C3H7, this is also an alkyl group because my hydrogens are 1 less. Matlab, this is an added thing that can be attached to something else, right? So if I attach this to CH2, right, this is actually a methyl group. Okay. Now if I were to attach an alkyl group, so this group attached is your alkyl group. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, what do we need to cover? Now that we're
Wait,
done with this,
alkyl groups are in alkenes or alkanes, or are just that they just as an overview?
they're just an overview essay, but the real like proper definition for the alkyl. So alkyl groups are an example for radicals. What do I mean by radicals? All of these are radicals. CH3, C2H5, C3H7, these are radicals. ठीक है? अब इसका example are alkyls. ठीक है? Now this is my ethyl. Sorry, this is my methyl, ethyl, propyl. ठीक है? So the proper definition for this, I'm just gonna write it here. Hydrocarbons in which one valency of carbon is free are called radicals. ठीक है? Now if I go from a CH4 to a CH3, this turns to a radical or an alkyl group. ठीक है? What do I mean by that? I have a carbon that has 4 hydrogens attached. Now if I remove 1 hydrogen from here, what am I going to be left with?
CH3.
CH3, right?
Yeah.
And ये वाली valency will remain vacant, right?
Yeah.
तो ये जो vacant वाली valency है, because of this whole structure turns into a free radical. ठीक है, no rocket science behind it, but just a concept that you need to know. ठीक है.
Mm.
Now that we're done with this, radicals हो गए. Now alkenes are C double bond, right? These are alkenes, and an example for alkenes will be this. This is butene. Alkenes को कैसे नेम करते हैं? ENE. Alkanes को कैसे नेम करते हैं? ANE, right? If I
Yeah.
made this, why have I written? This will be ethene. ठीक है. Now if I have this instead, this will be ethane, right? Because this is an alkane and this is an
Alkene.
alkene. Alkenes have double bonds while alkanes have single bonds. And while alkanes have single bonds, they're ready to have more hydrogens, right? Because
Yeah.
if we talk about alkenes, one of their bonds has been used up in the double bond. So there is less number of hydrogens they can accommodate in the structure. While if we talk about alkanes, they have just one bond here, so they're able to accommodate 3 hydrogens on 1 carbon, right? यहाँ पर 2 bonds इधर use हो गए, so we're only left with 2 other bonds that can have hydrogen, right?
Yeah.
Which is why your formula for an alkene is CnH2n, while the one for alkanes is CnH2n plus 2. So you have 2 extra hydrogens here. How? Because यहाँ पर एक attach हो जाता है extra and there's another extra one here, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Now we've done alkenes wala functional group. Now it's alcohols. Alcohols are basically hydrocarbons that have a hydroxyl group attached. ठीक है? These are called alcohols or hydroxyl. An example of this could be CH3OH. ठीक है? This is methanol. Alcohols are named with ols. ठीक है? We'll do the naming in a bit as well. Then we have carboxylic acids. Carboxylic acid का functional group क्या होता है? C double bond O, OH, right? This is the functional group for a carboxylic acid. The name will be carboxylic acid.
Oh, we're
And
not doing that one this term.
what?
We're not gonna have this term.
In your
The
exams?
Yeah, it's gonna come in the next term exam in the second mock. Carboxylic acids, esters, and synthetic polymers.
Oh yeah, I know about that. I'm just giving you like an overview of the list and just telling you the functional groups. I'm not going into detail about it.
Okay.
Okay. So this is carboxylic acid. Then we have esters. Examples for esters. Then we have amides, whose functional group is the C double bond O N. So we're done with the overview thing. Now, let's move on to alkanes. So when we talk about alkanes, if I write the whole series, so it goes like CH4, C2H6, C3H8, C4H10, C5H12, and so on, right? So
Yeah.
what basically this is called a homologous series, right?
Yeah.
Now, why is this a homologous series? Because all of these have the same functional group. And what is the functional group here? A C single bond C. This is our functional group for alkanes. Okay? Now, if I make a CH4, this is my first alkane. My second alkane is a C2H6, right?
Yeah.
So what's the difference between each adjacent compound in the series? There's a difference of a CH2. You add another CH2 and then you get the next compound, right? So if I add a CH2 in my CH4, what do I get? C3H6, right?
Yeah.
And if I were to add a CH2 in, wait, you can see my screen, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And if I were to add like हर किसी में if you keep adding a CH3, CH2, CH2, you get the next compound in the series. So if
Yeah.
C about that इसमें I add a CH2, C4H10 में if you add a CH2, what do you get?
C5H12.
Exactly. So what basically is a given fact about a homologous series that if you keep adding a CH2 unit in the previous compound, you get the next compound. ठीक है?
Okay. Yeah.
Now, what is a homologous series? Write the definition. A series of compounds in which adjacent members differ by CH2 unit is called a homologous series. ठीक है? Got it? Now there are properties for a homologous series. The first one is they have similar chemical but different physical properties. What do I mean by this? Similar chemical properties basically depend on the chemical reactions that happen between alkanes. So all the alkanes have the same chemical reactions. For example, cracking or substitution reactions for that matter. So all the alkanes, be it C3H8 or C6H14 or C28 something something, all of them have the same chemical reactions. All three of them will undergo cracking. All three of them will undergo substitution reactions, right? So they have similar chemical reactions, but different physical properties. What do we mean by physical properties? Physical properties can mean their states. This means that maybe half of them are gases, half of them are solids, half of them are liquids, right? So this can differ within a homologous sequence, right?
Yeah.
Now we move on to the naming. Do you want me to do the naming for alkanes?
Alkanes, it just ends with A and E, right? So it's like methane,
Yeah.
ethane.
Let's just do one or two examples and then we move forward, okay?
Okay, yeah.
So CH3, HC. How would you name this structure?
C- C- H- C5H12.
Yeah, that's going to be the molecular formula, right?
Yeah, so what? Pentane?
Wait, have you done naming in the sense 2-methyl or 2,3 dimethyl? Have you done naming this way?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So that's what I'm asking you to do.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let me do this example with you, and the next one you can try on your
one. Oh, okay.
own. Okay. So the first step is to find the longest carbon chain. What's your longest carbon chain here? Your carbon chain here could be this. It could be this, or it could be this, right?
Okay.
Right, so you have three possibilities, but which one is the longest carbon chain? It could be either this one, two, three, four carbons here. So you have four carbons in this chain. How many carbons do you have in this chain? One, two, three, right?
Yeah.
So this is not your longest carbon chain. What's the other carbon chain that you have? This one, right? So this goes 1, 2, 3, 4, right? This
Yeah.
one also has 4 carbons. So you can choose any one of these because both of these have 4 carbons. For example, if you choose this one, if you choose this carbon chain, you choose the longest carbon chain. The second step is to number the carbon chain starting from where the functional group is nearer or the substituent is nearer. What do I mean by a substituent? Any added thing that is attached. So in this case, what's your substituent in this chain? If this is my major carbon chain, what's attached to it?
What's with to like the longest carbon chain?
Yeah,
Over here, the CH3, right?
CH3, right? So this is my attachment. This is my substituent. Okay? Now, when I have the longest carbon chain, I say to number the carbon chain starting from where the functional group is nearer. So if I start to number it, 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Yeah.
My substituent comes on the third number, right?
Yes.
Right? But if I use another method, if I start numbering from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now my substituent comes on number
2.
2, right? So we need to number our carbon chain in a way where our substituent comes on a smaller number. Okay? That is why we say to number the carbon chain starting from where the functional or functional group or the substituent group is nearer. So the nearer it is, the smaller the number it's going to get, right?
Yeah.
So we start naming it from the left or the right,
From the left.
right? So if you start numbering it from the left, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we know that our methyl group is on the second carbon, right? So now that we've done the major part for the naming, now we just need to pick up things that form the whole name. Okay, so
Yeah.
how do you start naming?
To you put the number first, like for the carbon chain, so that's 2, and then you put a dash and then methyl, and then
Right.
the alkane, so that's gonna be pentane.
No, it's not going to be pentane, it's going to be butane. What's your longest carbon chain?
1, 2, 3.
4 carbons, right?
Right.
So 4
Okay. So
carbons, 4 you call it butane. 5
yeah.
carbons, 4 you call right?
Yeah.
So this is how you go about it. Okay, so this is going to be 2-methyl
Butane.
butane. So why did we write butane? Because your longest carbon chain is a carbon chain that has 4 carbons, right?
Yeah.
Now we are going to do another example. Are you good with this? Will you be able to do the next one on your own?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just had one question. When we were doing the previous example, when we're counting for like the alkane, we don't count the methyl group, we just count the longest chain, so that's like
Yeah,
C.
because in the naming you're saying there's butane which has a methyl attached on the second position, right? So it's
Yeah.
butane plus a methyl group. So if you add a methyl group to a butane, it automatically turns to a pentane, right?
Yeah.
Because butane may you add another CH3, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying your this butane ki bar has another methyl group attached, right? So butane plus a methyl group, right? So you're
Yeah.
naming it. Naming क्यों करते हैं? So you can actually tell कि what does your whole structure look like. If you just say that my structure is a pentane, how would anybody know कि इसके अंदर like your pentane could be a CH3, your pentane could be this, or your pentane could be it could be C. It could be this as well, right? Now this also has 4 carbons and a methyl group. So 4 carbons plus 1 carbon gives you 5, right? Or it could be this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbons. This also has 5 carbons, right?
Yeah.
And both of these are pentane. Now I don't know how you would differ between this one and this one, right? For that, you need to have proper naming. And proper naming kaise hogi? This is going to be called a 2-methyl butane. And why do we say butane? Because this has 1, 2, 3, 4 carbons and a methyl group attached, right?
Yeah. So, Miss, for the groups, what are the groups that I might need to know for my exam? Like, there's methyl group, okay, and then is there anything else? Because you know, then there's like the normal where there's you put the name, like you put the number, so that's like 2-methyl, and then we found butane, and then there's 2-dimethyl as well.
Yeah. Okay,
So
let's
is there
do, yeah, go on.
so is there anything else like other than methyl? Because okay, methyl is CH3.
Yeah,
So
so there's CH3. there's CH2CH3, there's CH2CH2CH3. So basically, the added unit that you have in each of them is a CH2 again, right? So this is your methyl group. You don't need to learn it. Why don't you need to learn it? Because when you're looking at an alkane which has one carbon, it's a methane, right?
Yeah.
When you're looking at an alkane that has two carbons, it's an ethane.
Mm.
So basically, when you know this already, so you just change the name to YL,
Oh, okay.
right? So basically, you don't need to learn it. You just use this trick where you just change the name. Okay, so it's methyl. This will be ethyl. This will be propyl. Why will this be propyl? Because this is propane,
Because
if you see it in. If I have a 3-carbon ethane, it's going to be called a propane, right?
yeah,
So propane can there, if you change A into a YL, what will you get? Propyl, right?
yeah.
In the same case, if you have 4 C's, this is butane. And if you change in to a YL, what do you get?
A into a Y and for
You get a butyl group. What's a
yeah,
butyl group?
for butane, CH, oh,
Right? This
CH3.
is your butyl group
Okay.
with 4 carbons, right? So
Yeah,
basically, learn करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Just change the name whenever you get a certain free radical. ठीक है? But I'll still write this here. Just change your A and E to a YL, which means turning your alkane to an alkyl. For example, butane to butyl. ठीक है? This is, I'm just gonna keep this here. I'm not gonna rub it out. So, right. So here you need to remember these. This is propyl and so on. Then you have butyl, etc. ठीक है? So now let's do another example. This will be CH3, CH, CH, CH3. Now, what's your longest carbon chain?
okay. Is it alright if I highlight it as a counter?
You could highlight it, it's fine. Or just let me know it's.
C, 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 1, 2, 3, 4. The from CH3 to the fourth CH3, CH3, CH, CH, CH3.
This one.
Yeah, it has 4. And then
Yeah,
over here,
right. So it could be either this or it could be this. This also has 4 carbons, right?
yeah,
Or it could be this,
that also has. Yeah,
right? So you have a number of possibilities in a single structure, but you go with just one. Okay, so we go with the easiest one, which is this one. Okay.
yeah.
Now you've chosen your longest carbon chain. What's the second step? The second step is that you start numbering from the side that has the functional group or the substituent attached nearest to it. Okay, so if I start numbering from here or I start numbering from here, my methyl group is going to come on Now I started numbering from the left side, and in the second case, I start numbering from the right side. So which side should I use? इसपे भी 2 per methyl group आ रहा है,
Yeah.
and इसपे भी 2 per methyl group आ रहा है, right?
Yeah.
So you can choose any side because both of them give you the same answer.
Okay.
I'll choose the left side for now. Now, how do I name it? I know that my methyl group, I have 2 methyl groups, right? 1,
Yeah.
2. I have 2 methyl groups. I know this, and my methyl groups are on position number 2 and position number.
Or the methyl group from the, oh, okay. Two.
Look, it's on position number 2 and 3, right? It's on the
Yeah.
second carbon and the third carbon, right?
Yep.
So I know that I have 2 methyl groups, and 2 methyl groups are named as dimethyl. If I had 3 methyl groups, it would be
Trimethyl.
exactly. So in this case, we have 2 methyl groups, so it's going to be 2, 3 dimethyl. And what's the longest carbon chain that we have?
Longest carbon chain. The fourth. Okay, 1 second. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 propane. If no,
4 carbons,
butane.
right? And what's a 4 carbon chain called?
Butane.
Butane, right?
Okay.
So butane, why? Because we have 4 carbons, and then we have a dimethyl. Why do we have a dimethyl? Because we have 2 methyl groups. And why do we have 2, 3? Because our methyl groups are on position number 2 and position number 3,
Yeah.
right? Now let's do another example, and then we move on to the reactions for alkanes.
Okay.
Now let's do a bit of a harder example. Okay. How are you going to name this? What's the first step that you're going to do?
Look at the longest carbon chain.
Longest carbon chain. Great. And what's your longest carbon chain?
CH3, CH2, CH3.
Right. This is your longest carbon chain. Okay. Now, what are your substituents?
CH3.
Right. Now, from which side will you start naming your chain?
We have to look at both sides to find out which one has the
Least number of.
So if I start from the left side, it's gonna be 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2, it falls from here, and then right side, it also falls from 2.
Right. So the right side is going to give you the same answer, right?
Yeah.
So you can take either side. Let's take the pink side. Okay.
Okay.